It's Tuesday, July 11th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about Age of Steam. Let's do this.
Well, for all of our new listeners, this is Tuesday, meaning we talk about gaming. So if you're here looking for our Connecticon wrap-up show, that will be tomorrow on Anime Day.
Yep, but we will still talk about the gaming that went down at Connecticon today.
Yep, partly because we did play a game we had never played before. We have quite a bit to say about it.
And I played some other games there too, without Rim and whatnot.
Yep, well, I was, fraternizing and wandering about the con.
Yeah, and we don't only talk about board games and such on Tuesday. We talk about video games and role-playing games and
Also, any kind of gaming.
If it has the word game in it, we talk about it Tuesday.
In fact, we should do a show on Punch for Punch and Red Rover.
52 pickup?
Something like that.
Duck Duck Goose?
But anyway, we're going to do this all week probably for all the new listeners. So if you're new to Geeknights, listen to the following. If you're not new to Geeknights, just bear with it.
Or fast forward.
Yeah. Now, we've got a Frapper map on the website, www.frontrowcrew.com, along with show notes, links to everything we talk about, RSS feeds for all the different days.
We have a forum, frontrowcrew.com/forum, where you talk about stuff.
It's real happening. In fact, right now, there's a huge flame war going on about libertarianism and jury nullification.
Awesome. And, that Frapper map is like you just add little push pins to it so we know where the listeners are. And email us if you want to tell us something or have us say something on the show or anything at all. It's geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Yep.
And actually, in relation to that, we got some feedback from the news story I covered yesterday on OpenDNS. And I'm not really going to go over it. We're going to save this for probably next Monday. But the OpenDNS guy, who was all over Slashdot, was all over Geeknights. And he posted in our forums and he emailed us like 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know how he found us from wherever he was. I mean, what did we link to Slashdot, right?
Yeah, I linked to the Slashdot article. Unless Slashdot told him, or he happened to already be a listener of Geeknights, which I guess we'll find out because I'm talking about it today.
Yeah, I guess. If he's a listener of Geeknights. Or maybe he just started listening because, but we'll find out.
Yep, that was a nice add-on to that. We got all the equipment finally to integrate Skype into our daily podcasting, so we might try to get this guy on the show as a test and just to hear what he has to say.
Or we might do a whole Thursday of prank calls.
Yeah, something like that.
It's going to be great.
But, I mean, we go 4 nights a week, and every day, every night is a different topic or set of topics, and there's a different RSS feed, both in iTunes and on the website, for each one of the days. So if you don't like anime, but you like video games and technology, you can just listen to Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, or just Monday, or whatever you want.
Yep. Or, of course, there is the mega feed, which gives you all of the Geeknights, which is the most popular feed, scarily enough.
Yep, and that also includes the unscheduled special Geeknight specials, of which there has been one special Geeknight special.
Yeah, there's not going to be too many of those.
No, those are when we cop out or we're out of town or something weird.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So then, without further ado, I'll jump right into the news, because there's been a lot of ongoing debate in our forums and with our listeners as to the relative merits of the Nintendo DS and the Sony PSP.
Woohoo!
Now, one, the observation I would like to make that I'll talk about a lot more tomorrow, but because this is gaming day and we were at Connecticon over the weekend, I can say that the DS was crazy at Connecticon.
Very crazy.
More so than any convention I've been to yet. During the big Uber Webcomics panel, which is one of the big, well-known draw events of this con, Channel A on DS PictoChat was completely full, and it was like there was a simulcast of the entire panel in PictoChat while it was going on.
Was there any overflow to Channel B?
I don't know. I was in Channel A.
Ah, awesome.
Where all the cool people were.
Ah.
Yeah, Channel B people can go to hell.
Doesn't it, kind of hang up and you can't send so many messages?
No. It worked perfectly.
Really?
I think what it is that every time we've had trouble, it's because there's someone's misconfigured or annoying Wi-Fi in the area.
It could be. We need to do some experimenting.
Because I remember at Otakon, Channel D worked real well, but Channel A just failed.
But the Nintendo store, remember it was sucking bad?
Yeah, but that might also be, there was a perfect number of DSs, and the big thing was they were all in the same room except for one guy who was doing security on the other side of a flimsy wall. The PictoChat only seems to break down if you've got 1 or 2 people who are real far away or breaking up. or if it starts relaying or anything bad starts going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in fact, I did not see a single PSP, but I saw at least 50 DSs. No exaggeration.
All right, so what's the news?
Well,
Because this isn't news. This is common sense.
Yeah, but the news here is that a lot of our listeners had been arguing earlier that while the DS is far and away the winner in Japan, and while the DS is the winner in the United States by a significant margin that is growing every day, in Europe, the DS wasn't doing so well, and the PSP was winning. And the actual numbers, which are not too easy to verify because Nintendo says how many units they sell, and Sony says how many units they ship to retailers. Big difference there. But the actual numbers show that the DS and the PSP were pretty much neck and neck. The DS Lite, which was released, I think, 10 days ago in Europe, in the EU, has sold, I think, 200,000 already. And the DS is now far and away the winner in the European market. Mm-hmm. Also, the nice, interesting bit about this release was that the new black DS Lite was released there and currently only there.
So, of course, the people are thinking, hey, maybe the only reason so many DS Lites sold in Europe is because people from America and Japan are buying black DS Lites and having them imported back to US and Japan.
Now, it sounds like a real intriguing idea, and Scott and I were talking about this before the show while we were actually cooking dinner. And while that may be true, the number of people who do that sort of thing is very small compared to the number of gamers.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I go to a con or some event like waiting in line at the Nintendo store, there's always maybe 2 guys at most. 5 would be like a crazy overestimation of how many people have crazy imported stuff. Most people just have what's available in their country, and very, very few people actually pay a tajillion dollars for crazy imports like that.
Yep, so it really couldn't have been a big impact. You know what was more of an
impact? It's definitely not anywhere near 200,000, maybe 1,000.
There was a case with this whole release of 12,000 DSs that were stolen. They were in such high demand that these were stolen and may or may not have been sold on the black market, additionally.
Yeah, they stole like a whole boatload, right?
Yeah, like 12,500, I believe, is the number.
Or a truckload. Or it's crazy.
It's a lot of DS Lites.
That is.
I didn't hear anyone stealing any PSPs.
In fact, there's a picture of a PSP being used in a Japanese convenience store as a little advertising display, and it's just showing a rotating ad to buy some insoles for shoes.
Now,
pretty creative use of the PSP.
Yeah. Now, the news is simply that the DS is now winning in every global market. I mean, Sony...
Well, Japan, US, and Europe. It's not winning in Africa.
Well, here's the thing.
South America.
Here's the thing.
Russia.
Sony... The only number they were released is they claim that they have shipped 6 million PSPs to everywhere in the world other than Japan and the United States of America. So that includes South America, Canada, all of Europe, all of Africa, Australia, everywhere except Japan and the US.
Mexico, the Caribbean.
And yet, the number of units Nintendo has sold, as in consumers purchased, 5,400,000 something DSs just in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
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 Now, couple this with the news, it's old news, that the UMD format is basically being discontinued for absolute lack of sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that really almost no games have come out for the PSP in a while now that anyone cared about.
Well, I think games are coming out for it. The thing is that it's like the DS has a shit ton of games, right? But people only talk about the big games. There are mountains and mountains of crap games that no one talks about, but if you go to GameStop, you see them on the shelf.
Yeah, but no one, you
don't hear about... The PSP has a whole bunch of games. There's like 2 Mega Man games and all kinds of stuff, but people only talk about like 3 or 4 of them, and I haven't seen any talk about any newer games at all.
Yeah, I mean, new games come out, just no one talks about them at all.
I should go look at a PSP blog and see if there's any good stuff on it. Someone send me a link to a good PSP blog.
Yeah, honestly, I'd consider buying a PSP just so I could talk about it more eruditely, but frankly,
I would consider buying it if the price was much, much less. Maybe under $100.
Yeah, let me put it this way: we just bought a Mac Mini, and we still think the PSP is overpriced for what it does.
Yeah. The Mac Mini was a little overpriced.
Yeah, but the fact that it also replaced our broken DVD player, as venerable and awesome as it was in its day, past its prime.
Yeah, it actually, while it's an expensive DVD player, it is a pretty good DVD player.
Yeah, and it does a lot of other things we needed, and it's quiet.
Yeah, very quiet and very small.
I mean, I could have made a micro ATX.
Maybe we should get a new, better stand for the TV that'll look better with such small amounts of equipment.
Or
on
like
it.
a shiny black or brushed steel or something.
Yeah, something like that, only with thin shelves or something, or less shelves.
You know what? The only reason I haven't done that yet is that the TV stand we have is free.
Yeah, it is.
And it's perfectly serviceable.
I know. I have everything we've ever bought seems to be something new or something broke and we're replacing it. We've never replaced something that was working and functioning perfectly
There was
for
one
something
case.
better.
There was one case.
All right.
We had at RIT, my dad, before I went to college for my apartment, gave me a couch and a love seat. The couch and love seat were white. They were put into our apartment at RIT. When we moved out several years later, they were no longer white. They were far from it. They were this dark shade of gray, and I didn't realize how bad it had gotten.
Until we brought them somewhere with better lighting.
Yeah, and then I flipped over a cushion, and it was all this white, and it was, whoa. So we threw away the couch, but we only threw it away because Emily and her family, in their infinite generosity, gave us a better couch for free.
Which is good because this couch has a bed in it.
Yes, the couch also has many fond memories.
It is also called the fucker.
Yeah, I don't know if we told that story on the show or not.
We'll hold it off.
We'll save that. Let's just
Someone
say,
put that in the thread.
Yeah.
Remind Redmond Scott to talk about the couch named the fucker.
Now, I will say, the story there, I won't tell the story, but the couch almost killed us.
Almost.
In fact, if our friend Pete had not been there, Scott and I would probably have died.
Probably have died under the weight of the evil couch.
But I gotta say, our TV, we're such geeks, used to have, you know the old Penny Arcade comic about the guy who died behind the TV because there were so many wires? Our TV was like that. We had the NES, we had the Atari, we had a VCR that barely worked, we didn't have a remote to it. We had the original DVD player, which was an overheating, region-free, cracked Apex with a case open so it wouldn't overheat.
It was $40.
Yeah. We had the GameCube.
Yep.
We didn't have a computer hooked up to it at that time.
Nope.
We had the busted old TV. We had all those wires. We weren't really sure what they did.
Yep.
And we had the PlayStation 1 that didn't do anything except play DDR.
Yep.
Now, all we've got connected to our TV is a Mac Mini.
A Mac Mini and a GameCube.
And the GameCube we don't even really use so much right now.
And when we get a Wii, that GameCube, we don't need it anymore.
No, we don't. The GameCube.
I'll probably keep it, but...
Well, yeah, who are you going to sell it to?
I don't know, but it'll go in the closet or something. And then in 30 years, I'll whip it out and people will be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
I'd say, we'll just bring it to conventions, but we're bringing the freaking Wii to conventions if we bring anything.
You damn right. All right.
Yeah, so you got a news?
I do.
Is it video game related?
It sure is.
Outstanding.
When did the Atari die?
See, I know the answer to the hypothetical question or the rhetorical question because we already did pre-production, but I'm going to say in the 80s.
Yeah, sometime in the 80s, they just stopped making games for the Atari 2600.
Here's where you say, but.
But just today, someone released a new game for the Atari 2600.
This game, compared to the vast majority of Atari games, looks bad freaking ass.
Now, the thing is, an Atari 2600, the games themselves could only have so much memory, like 4K or something like that.
Yeah, now the NES was the same way, and they got around it by a lot of trickery in the cartridge.
Mm-hmm. But someone made a, what's it called? They made this cartridge have 2 4K memory chips in it, and it switches between the two. So in the second chip, you have the intro to the game, the intro screen, and all the sound. And in the first chip, you have the actual game. So they put a game on one chip, and they put fancy graphics for the intro and the music on the second chip.
This game's real fancy.
Yeah, for an Atari game, it's real fancy. Now, The way the game works is first, there's the fancy intro screen. Then, it's sort of like, what's the game?
Night Driver.
Night Driver. I was thinking Knight Rider. Night Driver.
Yeah, I was real good at Night Driver.
Yep. And you're this running Aztec guy trying to get up to the pyramid. And you're in the desert. So you run towards the pyramid while dodging spears and stuff. Basically, Night Driver with a running Aztec. Then when you get to the pyramid, it switches to game number 2, where you have to climb the stairs of the pyramid without getting pinned by various things, like the evil priests dropping rocks on your head.
Sounds like a great game.
And then when you get to the top of the pyramid, you beat it. And when you beat all the pyramids, you get some sort of ending.
See, now, it's really got nothing on Kaboom, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest games ever created.
It's got nothing on pole position. Forget Kaboom.
Pole Position was okay. Pole Position 2 was much better.
Donkey Kong for the Atari actually was damn good.
Yeah, it was. I've got it.
Mm-hmm. What else was there? Oh, Combat.
Yep, which you suck at.
You suck. I'm great at Combat.
What? I kicked your ass the last time we played
not
Combat.
even. Last time, sure, but 10 times before that, I won all of them.
No, I don't think you've ever beaten me at Combat.
I've beaten you at Combat many times. In fact, I made a Combat game as a project in a class.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the argument at hand, which is that you suck at Combat, and that the last time we played...
I wrote the program on Combat.
Yeah, you know what? I think after the show we're going to have to whip that Atari out, that Atari 7800, because I'm so leap. We're going to have to play ourselves some Combat.
How are you going to hook it into the TV?
I'm going to plug it in through the little RF doohickey that I got.
All right, we'll see how that works.
I got some ideas.
We'll see. Anyway, there's a new game for the Atari 2600 called AVCS Tech Challenge.
Torrent, please. All right. Anyway, that is the news. Things of the day.
Yes, new listeners, we have a segment on this show, every show, called Things of the Day.
Comes right after that music, which ironically, well, not ironically, but just interestingly, is the only music we play during the episode due to the fact that I never bothered to finish writing any of it.
Awesome.
Anyway,
the Things of the Day is we talk about cool things we might have seen on the internet or other places. And if you want to visit these things, you can go to frontrowcrew.com. And in the show notes, there are links to the Things of the Day.
They're usually worth visiting. They are often videos.
Yes, if there is anything worth looking at on the internet today, it is the Thing of the Day.
It's been suggested that we make an RSS feed of the Things of the Day, which we just haven't bothered doing.
Oh, someone thought about it. See, that might cause some manual labor or a WordPress plugin.
Yeah,
or something.
We'd have to do either some screen scraping or make the Things of the Day special fields instead of just typing them.
Yeah, we'd have to make it a special field, and then I'd have to write a little program to do it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, we might do it in the future, but to those of you who suggested it, let it be known that we've gotten your idea and we are considering it.
Yeah, I never heard it. Who suggested that? I'd never seen that before.
You know, I don't even remember, but it was suggested months ago, and I just never thought about it.
You never told me.
I figured it was an obvious suggestion.
Was it? Well, obviously it wasn't. Even to someone like me. All right.
So, my thing of the day, I was going to do something else, but then Scott got his thing of the day, and I couldn't pass up the thing of the day that he was passing up, so I'm taking it to save it from the obscurity.
Yeah, basically, I had a thing of the day. I found a better one, but the one I had was already good, so Rim saved it.
Yep, and my thing of the day was all right. I'll just use it some Tuesday years from now when I got nothing.
I've got another thing of the day just waiting in line that I don't know if I can hold on to.
All right. Now, I'm sure you all are familiar with Krusty the Clown's show on The Simpsons, a show within a show.
And I'm sure you are familiar with Bozo the Clown.
Yeah, that kind of show. Funny man, kids in the audience, kids get involved a little bit, show a cartoon.
Yeah, a lot of you kids don't realize, but back in the day, before everyone had cable, there were TV shows that were only on the air in certain areas. Like, there would be a local TV studio where they would make a show, and everyone within a certain distance of that TV studio could pick it up on the air.
Yep, and
kind of like a radio station.
Occasionally, really big shows would be syndicated, and they'd appear in like 3 or 4 cities.
Yeah, what they would do is they would send the show to all the different, they would tape it, send it to everyone, and then they would all play it.
Now, actually, interesting tidbit, they did that with unencrypted satellite transmissions back then, because they never even expected that geeks would just buy satellite dishes, intercept it, and get free pay everything television.
Yeah, and back in the day, rich people had satellite dishes, and they watched all kinds of crazy TV. And even today, with a satellite dish, you can watch all sorts of crazy things that with your satellite dish without paying Dish Network or whatever.
All sorts of fun international TV. A significant portion of it is non-English.
Yeah, but
there's a world out there.
The thing is that there's plenty of TV that is encrypted on satellite, so you need Dish Network or DirecTV to actually get.
Or you need to be some kind of hacker.
Elite hacker.
Yeah,
the kid who figured it out got in big trouble, serious trouble.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, that's not what we're going to talk about. We're talking.
So, one of these shows was rediscovered by some people and put on the internet, and it's a relevant thing of the day because it is King Koopa's show, King Koopa's cartoons.
King Koopa's cool cartoons, all with Ks.
Yeah, the KKKK. That's just great.
Well, it is King Koopa's cool cartoons.
Now, to me, if this show had been on, it would have been the baddest ass thing ever because, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and I was a big fan of Mario and the Heroes, not Koopa, whatever, but I always had more of a respect for Koopa than I did for Mario. Because one, Koopa was kind of like a dragon.
Well,
isn't
Kid Koopa your favorite dude?
Kid Koopa's the man. Nobody talks smack about Kid Koopa.
Kid Koopa sucks.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? You're getting some lava.
Yeah. All right.
Now, imagine if King Koopa were there and he had a show and you could become one of his Koopa Troopas and wear a Koopa Troopa hat. And
yeah, he's got an audience full of little kids going, Koopa, and some of them have Goomba hats and some of them have Koopa hats. It's kind of crazy.
And he's making fun of Mario and all sorts of fun stuff.
I didn't actually see any making fun of Mario going on.
I saw just because there were pictures from the screenshots of pictures of the Mario Brothers behind him, and the text, he was like, they talk about Mario and the princess.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that.
All right.
He had this telephone, looks like it moved or something, like it was an alligator, I don't know.
Koopa.
Yeah, we're not going to make an inside joke that inside.
He's the king of the afternoon, Koopa.
I just think this was cool. I hope someone has archival footage and puts it all on the internet for everyone to see.
Yeah, because right now we've basically got the intro. I have a theory about King Koopa, though.
Oh?
I think I know who's in that King Koopa costume.
Mr. Belvedere?
No, but that's a good guess.
Captain Lou Albano?
No, that's a bad guess. Judging by the way this Koopa acts and the meager amount of footage I have of him, the only person that I know that would fit that King Koopa would be Steve Ballmer. Because when he's going like Koopa, trying to get all the kids excited.
Developers.
It matches it so well.
All right, what's your goddamn thing of the day?
I almost forget.
You can't forget. You know what? I think we'll play it.
Oh, I remember.
We'll play a clip from Scott's thing of the day, and then Scott will explain what that clip was.
Okay, they announced it's $600. I let that slide. Okay, I'm a Sony fan. I let that slide. Okay, and then they keep on pounding you with bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news. Okay? Oh, you're not buying a game system. You're buying raw potential. I don't give a damn. Okay? I don't want potential. I want the goods. Show me the money. And plus, okay.
All right, so GameSpot has this Hotspot podcast, which I listened to a few times, but whatever. That was a fan of Sony, who sent in an audio feedback to their little podcast radio show.
The kid is definitely a fanboy, but the fact that Sony's even pissed off the Sony fanboys is a bad sign.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. This is a kid who loves Sony. He loves the PlayStation. He loves Sony stuff. You know, if you were on a message board with him and you said Sony sucks, he'd be like, no, Sony is to awesome. Nintendo and Microsoft are to poop. But because
Nintendo and Microsoft are number 10.
Yeah, but look, Sony, if you look in the news of video game websites and magazines, other than, of course, the official Sony stuff, all you will see is bad news. He's crazy, you know, in his mannerisms. But what he's saying isn't far from the truth. All the news about the PS3 and the PSP is bad news.
I mean, let's go chronologically through all the news that came out for the PS3. The only good news was the first news, which was there is going to be a PS3.
There was also the news that it's going to be region-free.
True.
And it's going to have Linux, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? Those were good days, and those days fell into utter chaos and ruin.
Everything else about the PS3 has been...
I mean, let's see. It was
and it's going to be cheaper than a Blu-ray player, but
Yeah.
that's bad news for Blu-ray players, which is also Sony.
Let's see. It was delayed. It was going to be real expensive. It was delayed. The Blu-ray was real expensive and not going so well. Then they have E3. Oh, there's a lot of problems, and the controller's weird, and we kind of ripped off Nintendo.
No rumble.
No one clapped at their press release.
Ridge Racer. Even though I think that's PSP news, but whatever.
Doesn't matter. That was the highlight of Sony's E3 appearance.
Ridge Racer.
In addition to all the, PSP not doing well, UMD discontinued, etc., etc. And then all those other tidbits start coming out. The games are going to be expensive.
The games are hard to make.
Now, the worst part about the games being expensive is that the news was PlayStation 3 games are going to be more expensive than the industry average. And I thought, all right, it's not a big deal. And then the numbers were thrown out. And the high range of the number was $100. Now,
what game is going to be $100? That has to be the best game ever made to be $100.
Remember the Neo Geo?
Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't do so well.
No, it didn't.
You can't sell games for that much money, especially if your system is 600 goddamn snakes on a plane dollars.
Yeah. The point is that Sony is just putting out bad news and bad news and bad news, and they expect, Sony people to just be so attached to the brand somehow that, and some people are, that it's true. But it's such bad news that, yes, even Sony fanboys will be broken and will go out and buy an Xbox or a Wii.
I mean, that would be like if we got pissed off enough at Nintendo to say something like that.
Like, imagine if the news about Nintendo was the Wii's going to be $1,000. The Wii controller doesn't really work. Mario's not going to be on the Wii.
Yep, Mario's discontinued.
The Wii isn't backward compatible with the GameCube anymore. The Wii games are going to be $100. The Zelda game isn't going to come out. It's like, it's that bad.
You'd get audio kind of like what that kid said, only obviously much more highbrow.
Oh, of course, because Pokemon kids are so highbrow.
Well, at least from us.
No, maybe.
Now, see, there's a visual gag in my head that I can't express in radio, where I cut to a penny arcade of Gabe just yelling the word "fuck" repeatedly.
Yeah. About this fanboy though, I just love the reaction of the GameSpot guy.
Oh my God.
He was like, "Thank you for the email." Oh my God!
Like they can't stop laughing. They're stifling it. You could hear him in the background, like, "Oh my God."
It's absolutely fantastic.
I didn't want to play the whole clip because obviously we jacked it from their podcast. So listen to this. It's linked everywhere. We linked to it in the thing of the day.
There's a YTMND for it. It's sonyfanboy.ytmnd.com.
The kid.
And you know what? This kid is definitely the man now, dog.
All right. So we were at Connecticon, and we're going to cover Connecticon in detail tomorrow. But because it's gaming day, we're going to cover the gaming at Connecticon.
Surprisingly, the gaming at Connecticon was high quality.
Yes, the board gaming, Euro gaming, live action gaming, miniature gaming was above average for conventions in general, let alone a webcomic/anime convention.
I mean, if I compared it to UberCon, which is a gaming con, period, I could actually say it was a slight step up, if not, because they had about as many games in their library as UberCon.
Well, the free play library, at least.
Yeah, the free play library. But the room in which games are being played was much larger, dedicated only to gaming and gaming tables, had a lot of tables, had a lot of air, didn't smell bad, and there were a lot of cool people in it.
Yep, and we played a bunch of German... Well, I played one German board game.
And I played 2 German board... Well, I don't think Age of Steam is German, but I played 2 games.
Yep. But honestly, while those are all good things, as we'll talk about tomorrow, the fact that they had so much space for the game room is actually one of the indirect reasons why Connecticon leaves a little bit to be desired overall.
Yep, we'll get into that tomorrow.
But regardless of that, the gaming was tight. I mean, they had a video game room that looked very typical of every gaming con I've ever gone to. It had the same type of tournaments. It looked really popular. It looked well run. I haven't heard any complaints from anyone about it.
They had a miniatures room, which I assume was running well because I saw a bunch of people in there playing miniatures games all day, as miniatures games go.
Yeah, in fact, it reminded me that as much as I love miniatures, that is a part of my life that is dead to me now, and I seek never to return to those days.
Yeah, Battletech is as far as we go.
Because I remember we walked past the miniatures room on our way to the board gaming room in the morning, and there was a set of people in there playing miniatures games. I walked back toward the gaming room much later that day,
way afternoon, possibly evening.
Yes, I think we had just gotten back from dinner.
Yep.
And the same people were in the same chairs. The only things that had moved were the miniatures.
In the same game. So yeah, that's miniatures take a while. But in the gaming room, they had some it's pretty cool the way it worked is you could go up to the library, the free game library, of course, trade in your badge and get any game you wanted and play it with your friends.
Yep, and they had a couple of guys running the booth where you could get the games who were definitely Eurogamers and they knew their stuff.
Yeah, there was one guy who was in charge, he was staff in charge of the game room, and he seemed to be cool and he knew what he was doing. He was going around teaching people games and being friendly and recommending games to people and helping people set games up and all kinds of good stuff. He was definitely on top of things. And what he would also do is he would go around to games that were being played and give out prizes. Now, the way it seemed to work is they had this Connecticon money, which is just printed out money with a stamp on the back.
They were bunny bucks because the mascot of Connecticon is an anthropomorphic rabbit.
Great. And he would
Nothing wrong with anthropomorphic rabbits.
Right, so he would give the winners, he would go to a game being played, put a 10 bunny buck bill on the table, a 5, and then some 1s for all the other players. I think he gave out more 1s if games were longer. And the winner would get the big 10, and the second place guy would get 5, and everyone else would get a few 1s, even if you lost. So
you could use these bucks to buy prizes in the dealer's room.
Yeah, in the dealer's room, there was a prize table, and there are many things, and they all cost a certain number of bunny bucks. And I think it came out to our bunny buck was worth around 50 cents.
Now, the really interesting thing is that systems like that are nothing new, but they really only appear in gaming cons. And I was really surprised to see such a well-executed system at a con that had gaming, but it was definitely not a gaming con. It was a webcomic con. It is an anime con turned webcomic, or vice versa. It is like an amalgamation of webcomics and anime. It is not a gaming con, yet the gaming was awesome.
Yeah, I think that really, if you look at the con, I have to say that it was definitely an anime webcomic gaming con. Like a whole half of the building was gaming.
Yeah.
So, well, at least the whole hallway, was gaming. Anyway, we went to the gaming room, and most of the games being played, I think there was an apples to apples that just didn't stop.
Oh, no, God, people just coming in and out. It was there the whole day.
Yeah. Munchkin was being played very much in all its varieties. Munchkin Foo, Super Blender Munchkin, regular Munchkin, Super Munchkin.
We could tell that we've become a different kind of gamer over the years in that, because actually we hung out with the staff guys, and the game we're going to talk about today, Age of Steam, the main gist of today, we played with the two staff kind of guys at the staff tables, so he had to keep stopping to, deal with all the stuff. And half the people who walked up were like, give me that German game. But a lot of people were like, do I play Trivial Pursuit or Munchkin? Yeah. How come you don't have Monopoly or chess?
They had Monopoly, but they didn't have chess, and a lot of people asked for chess.
And
the German games were played, just not as much as the other games. It seemed to be people kept coming back for Munchkin. They kept coming back. They wanted chess. They didn't have it. They played apples to apples constantly. Those sorts of games. There was a lot of Magic being played in the room. There was a lot of other CCGs being played in the room. I think they had a closed deck Magic tournament at one point.
But all those people really stood out because to us at least, the German gamers, the people who wanted the Euro games, we would just walk up, get the game, walk away, and sit down and play that fucker.
Yep, and It was funny because the second time we went to the gaming room, the two I think these guys were volunteers actually. The two guys sitting at the staff table.
Yep.
We went up and they were playing 2-player Carcassonne, and we were like, no expansions, weird. And obviously, immediately they knew that we were real gamers and they were real gamers. So they're like, we can stop playing this and play something real, and we want to. And I was like, yes, let's do that.
Yep. And while I wanted to play Kalis a lot, I also wanted to play a game I never played before.
Most of all, I wanted to play a game I never played before because A, I paid a lot to get into the convention, and that's how I'm going to get my money's worth. And B, we need something to talk about today.
Also, I'm glad we picked a game that absolutely insane because I wouldn't have wanted to have to play that game the first time on my own.
Yeah, we'll get to Age of Steam, but first I want to talk a little about the game. I played Puerto Rico early in the day with some other guys.
Yep, this is when I slipped out to go to the Uber webcomics panel.
Yep. Now, early in the day, I went in there, and I was like, and some guys were like, hey, you want to play Puerto Rico? So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play Puerto Rico with some people I never played with before. And originally, it was going to be like me, the head staff guy of the game room, and 3 other people. But then some other, con-goers came around, and I played with them. And I taught, I think one of them knew how to play, one of them kind of knew how to play, and the other ones were noobs. But I taught them how to play, and surprisingly enough, I don't know who it was. I forget everyone's name, even though I asked. One of the noobs, like, when I explained to him the rules, he absorbed every rule like a super sponge. He didn't ask really any questions, and after I had completed, all the rules. And when we played, he played better than all the other people there.
Now, things like that are very impressive to us. I mean, a lot of our friends are like that, but that's because we're all very deeply immersed in the board game culture. Mm-hmm. When we run into a person who isn't a member of the front row crew who just picks a game up like that, that's amazing.
Especially a game like Puerto Rico, where not only did he learn all the rules 100% from me telling him the rules once, but he played the game better than some other guy who had played the game before.
Of course, Scott still won this game hand over fist.
Of course, I still win this game hand over fist.
And in fact,
being that I played Puerto Rico a bajillion times.
If we had stayed for the whole weekend, we had a racket planned where we would both play together in every game we could, win most of them, get like first and second place all the time, king make each other in order to put ourselves in first and second place. Like kind of like drafting.
And get a mountain of bunny bucks and then buy a board game with them. Thus getting our money back for the con, basically.
Yeah, but we're lazy.
We were lazy, and we had other things to do at the con.
Also, Age of Steam took over 3 hours.
Yeah, Age of Steam took a while. It would have taken less time if the guys weren't busy doing their job, but it would have taken a long time anyway.
But, I mean, before we get on to Age of Steam, Connecticon, if any of the staff or anyone are listening, you guys did a fantastic job with your gaming, and whoever was in charge of that deserves some sort of commendation.
They should be the con chair. All right. So, later in the day, we came back to the gaming room, and we played Age of Steam.
Now, before we talk about Age of Steam, I want to talk about another game that we played a couple times.
I think we talked about it on the show.
Yeah, called Java.
Oh, Java. I thought you were going to talk about Railroad Tycoon.
No, I want to talk about Java.
Okay.
Because I think explaining the Java story, which is a completely
Java is the
game.
same as any other German action point game.
Yeah, but the thing is, Java was the first game we played where the game seemed to be set up in a way to aggravate us. Now, what basically you have a number of action points with which to do actions on the board, putting pieces of land down. And after we played the game once and tensions ran high, we came up with the following fable we completely made up, we made this up. It is a fable. This is not what actually happened. As to how they determined the number of action points that you get on your turn.
Obviously, the real way they did it is with some sort of math.
Yes, though honestly, I wouldn't put it completely out of the realm that they did it our way.
It's a hypothetical possibility.
All right, so they get 5 drunk German board gamers, and they put them in a bar with the game, and they give them 50 action points and tell them to play the game. Then they tell them to play it again, and they give them 49, and again, and they give them 48. And they keep going down until a fist fight breaks out. And the moment the fist fight breaks out,
you subtract one more action point, and then you put the game out like that.
Because the game was every round, I would do all my stuff, and then I would just, if I only had one more action point, I could do it. Every single round, it was the same thing, and everyone was feeling it, and the game just hurt. I love the game, but that was our first experience with a game that did something like that. A game where you didn't feel like you were progressing, where every time you did something good, something bad happened to you.
Now, Age of Steam is worse than that.
Age of Steam is the most unforgiving, relentless, kick-your-ass game I've ever laid eyes upon.
Now, I'd known about Age of Steam because there are some guys at the local gaming group, and whenever we talked about Railroad Tycoon, they would say, have you played Age of Steam? Are you playing Age of Steam? You know, have you played Age of Steam yet? Do you want to play Age of Steam? And I was like, they kind of gave me the impression that Age of Steam was the real man's Railroad Tycoon.
Yep, they'd say things like, it's unforgiving.
Yeah.
There is no quarter.
Yeah, so if you want to know about Railroad Tycoon, I think we did an episode on it, right?
Yes, we did. In fact, we did 2 episodes on it, one of which we never uploaded.
Yeah, so if you want to know about Railroad Tycoon, just go listen to our episode on it, and it might give you a little insight as to Age of Steam.
I will link to that episode at some point. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow while I'm at work with no work to do.
Yeah.
But I'll add it in.
Now you know how I feel. Anyway, of course I'm doing work now, but Age of Steam is basically, actually, Railroad Tycoon is very similar to Age of Steam because Age of Steam came first.
Yes.
But the point of it is that Age of Steam has a much smaller map than Railroad Tycoon, and there's much higher competition for the cubes as well as for the terrain and putting tracks down. And it's also a fucker.
Yeah, I mean, the mechanics are basically the same. You're shipping cubes around to get victory points. Getting victory points also gets you more income, but the more income you get, you start losing income in the long run. You don't start with anything. You have to take out shares, which you have to pay forever for the rest of the game and lose points for at the end in order to get all your money. And it's the same game, just really small, really compact, much more arbitrary, and with far fewer catch-up mechanisms.
Mm-hmm. That's the real thing about Age of Steam that bothered me is that in Railroad Tycoon, you're trying to get victory points. And victory points you get when you ship cubes. And you pretty much get victory points in Railroad Tycoon the same way you get income points in Age of Steam. You ship a cube, and if you ship a cube over 3 of your tracks, you get 3 points. If someone else ships a cube over your track, you get a point, etc., etc. And in Railroad Tycoon, you just keep getting points forever and ever. And the more points you get, your income goes up and up and up. And then after a point, you keep getting more points, and your income goes down and down and down. But you can still get more points. In Age of Steam, most of your points, there are ways to get points besides income, but every point of income you get at the end of the game is 3 points of score. And as your income goes up, it goes down.
Yep, so once you get past a certain point, every round that you're past that point, you lose 2 income permanently. If you get further on the victory point track, it's 4, then 6.
So if I have less than 10 points of income, that's cool. I just get my income every turn. I think it was 10. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, 10 was the line, at least for the 2.
Yeah, then if let's say I have 15 income points, I get $15, and then my income is immediately put down to 13.
So if you've been shipping a bunch of cubes and the cubes have dried up and you're up there, it's going to pull you all the way back down to 10 over the course of turns.
Yeah, so you basically have to keep shipping cubes. You have to keep the machine moving enough to push you ahead, and then it pulls you back, so you have to do it again. You can't just get a whole bunch of points, then not do anything for a while you set stuff up and relax, and then get a bunch of points again. You have to make the game set up so that you're constantly getting more and more and more and more points turn after turn after turn without slowing down, like a giant snowball. If there's any pause in your snowball, you're done because the game just pushes you back down the shitter.
Yep, basically this is a game where if you fuck up ever at all, not like in some games like Puerto Rico where if you screw up a little bit, you still have a chance.
Yeah, you lose a few points, but other people can still fuck up.
If you fuck up in this game, you're done. You're out of the game. You might as well give up unless everyone else fucks up worse. Because the earlier you fuck up, the worse it fucks you. Take that, FCC.
Yeah, think about it. If you take a share, that's, the way to... In Railroad Tycoon, you can take a few shares at the beginning and not take any more ever. It's not hard to do that because you ship cubes, you get your income up, it stays up, you can sit around and collect income and then spend it and move on without taking more shares. But in Age of Steam, you can't do that. You need to keep moving. So if on a turn you didn't get a lot of income, you had to upgrade your train to ship a cube. You had to, you can't afford any tracks. You have to take another share. Now that you've taken another share, it's even harder because the more shares you have, the less income you actually receive. And the thing is, if you take a share and then you don't capitalize on each and every single share you take and get that money and spend it in such a way that makes your income much, much larger, you're basically screwed because you can't get rid of the share. It's there until the end of the game. And now you have to take another one.
Yep. Now, not only is the game set up to where once you fuck up, you're basically done. If you screw up enough, not only can you not win, but you are eliminated from the goddamn game.
Yeah, if your income can go below zero, if you get a bunch of shares, you move up, and then your income doesn't ever catch up to the cost of your train and your shares. Well, you can't get rid of the shares or shrink your train. So you're losing money every single turn. Your income goes down, 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 down.
Yep,
and if it goes below zero, you're out. You're just done.
Because for any money that you owe at the end of your turn for your expenses that you can't pay, you lose 1 victory point, which is 1 income.
Well, it's actually 3 victory points.
Well, yeah, 1 income unit.
Mm-hmm.
And it kicks you out of the game.
Yeah, you can be killed in this game, and it really sucks. Really sucks.
Yep. And the worst part of the game is that, well, I guess the worst part in terms of how it beats the hell out of you is that you never feel like you're getting anywhere. You always feel like everything you do is just in vain. No matter what you build, it feels like crap. No matter what you do, it won't work. No matter what you want to do, someone else outbids you.
It's just, imagine if you're playing a game against some other people, right? And you're trying to attack the other people and, get ahead in the game yourself. The problem is that the game is like another player, and he's constantly raping everyone in the ass. And until you get the game out of your ass, you can't really do anything to anyone else. So if someone else might have gotten the game out of their ass already because they know how this game works, and if the game is still on you, you basically give up because you can't go do anything to that guy. And now that he doesn't have the game bothering him, he can just get away, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. So the winners keep winning and the losers keep losing.
Because at least a lot of games like Puerto Rico or Railroad Tycoon, even if you're losing, even if you're in last place and there's nothing you can do to win, there's a lot to do on your turn, and it gets to the point where you may not be able to win, but it's still fun to build railroad tracks and ship cubes, and you're not falling further behind. And you're
still constantly accomplishing things and moving forward at an increasing pace.
Yep,
someone else might be doing it better than you, but you're not falling back into the point where you can't do anything. You're constantly going up. In Age of Steam, you're constantly going down, and only the winners are going up. And as the winners go up, it becomes easier for them to move up even more. And if you don't move up as fast as them, it just becomes harder and harder to move up.
Which in and of itself is fine, except that most really good games are set up so that the point at which a clear winner is determined is pretty much the point at which the game ends.
I think that's why Age of Steam has a defined number of turns. The game is X turns long, the end.
Yep.
As opposed to Railroad Tycoon, which goes until enough cubes have been shipped.
The problem is that, honestly, in the game we played, the game was determined at the beginning of the 3rd turn.
Yep, and the game was, 5 turns?
Yep. In fact, at the beginning of my round in the 2nd term, I made a mistake, a very small mistake of a few monies, and it was over. From that point on, there was nothing I could do to win. Not only that, but there was nothing I could do to get cubes to ship, to even do anything in the game, other than take a bunch of shares to pay to do something, which then just put me even further down.
Yeah, the game does have a saving grace in that, theoretically, if someone is getting way far ahead, they still have the difficult task of keeping that machine rolling, like I talked about the snowball before. But the thing is that, sure, they might screw up while they're far ahead, and, if they stop their snowball at any point, they'll fall way back and everyone can catch up. But the reality is, is that if you get ahead of the game and you're actually getting money every turn, fistfuls of money, without taking shares, you're pretty much, you can breathe a sigh of relief and just make moves to ship cubes without worrying and upgrade your train and do all kinds of stuff without worry. I mean, there was all kinds of times in the game where I just couldn't do things because I didn't have the money. And it took me until the 5th turn to really, actually be getting a decent amount of income, but then the game was over.
Now, here's my beef with the game. My main beef, because I enjoyed the game. I don't know if I'd spend much money on it. I don't know of many of my friends who would ever want to play this game with me.
No, I don't really know anyone either. They would just get pissed off.
Yeah, but because we didn't talk a lot about all the mechanics of the game that make it different. Because honestly, unless you know Railroad Tycoon and you're really into board gaming, you probably don't care. And if you do care, you probably already know all about this game. And if you don't, well, email us.
Yeah, or go to Board Game Geek. There's rules there.
Yeah.
This game, it's just not... some games you want to explain how they work because it's interesting. The way this game works is basically on your turn, you buy some cubes.
Well, here,
yeah.
My beef, and I'll explain the game in a very abstract, high-level way. The game is a giant collection of extant information. There is so much information. You have so many arbitrary decisions. And the game starts as a clean slate. The game is primarily understand the math behind the game. Understand while you're playing that one income point is worth X dollars in this round, but worth Y dollars in this turn. And because of the statistics of dice rolling, the odds are that this will happen. And it's just a whole bunch of math. It's a game that you could Scott Johnson.
Yep.
Now, Scott Johnson, a good friend of ours, is the almighty god master of a game called Acquire. Because that is a game where if you sit there and calculate the odds of everything on the board and look at all the information, take it into account, you can calculate fairly trivially the optimal move. He was just really good at calculating that optimal move before anyone else
Even
did.
though it took him forever, he would just sit there for like 5 minutes figuring out the best possible move, and then he would take it.
Of course, if he played with us, we just hit him. But
Yep. The thing is...
This game is a lot like that, is that once you know the equations behind the game, it's just a matter of who executes the optimal strategy for the current board the fastest. And while that is a valid game and a good game, it's not a very fun game.
No. The other thing is that we're used to playing games of tactics where, in a game of Puerto Rico, you can't sit down at the beginning of the game and say, aha, I see how this game is set up. I'm going to be all captain-y this time, or I'm going to be all this time. You just kind of play it as it goes, and, same thing with Tigris and Euphrates. Sure, you can look at your starting 6 tiles and figure out your opening moves, but you can't plan way out ahead in the game what you're going to do because you don't know. There's so much information yet to be revealed.
Yep, and while in a game like Tigris and Euphrates, you can have a long-term strategy. I do often. I'll think, I'm going to build here and here, but my long-term goal is to put a monument over there somewhere, or a monument attached to that kingdom. Things like that. But if you make a strategy and then you have to deviate from it because of tactical considerations, that's fine. The game doesn't really punish you for that. In Age of Steam, if you misstep at all, at any point, you were fucked. If your strategy was wrong on the first turn, you're done. It's over.
In Age of Steam, 90% of the information in the game that is going to be known is visible right away. Where the cubes start, what cubes are going to show up in what cities,
and in fact,
who goes in what order.
Nothing another player does is secret. Tigris and Euphrates has the thing that you don't know what other people have. You don't know what their assets are. In this game, you know what everyone's assets are, no matter what. No one can hide anything.
Yep, so you know everything, and you know most of it right at the beginning of the game. Even though everyone's on equal footing, you know all the cubes and all their positions, and that's what really matters. And what you have to do is you have to make a long-term strategy for the game based on the starting positions of cubes so that you know those are the cubes I'm going to ship on turn 1. Those are the cubes I'm going to ship on turn 2. Those are the cubes I'm going to ship on turn 3. I know I'll have this much money because you can figure all that stuff out. I'll take this many shares on this turn and then I'll have this much money and I'll ship those cubes and I'll get, that much money from that. And you could just plan out your whole game on turn 1. And then whoever plans out the best game on turn 1 and then happens to execute that to the fullest is going to be the winner. You plan most of your game right away. The only thing that can screw with you is if other players do things to interrupt your long-term plan of which cubes you're going to ship on which turns. The thing is, it's pretty obvious when someone can stop you, and if someone spends resources to stop you that doesn't also benefit them, they're basically taking you and them out of the game together. So you don't really expect something that crazy to happen.
Now, I mentioned about the equations and the, figuring out how everything works in the game and what the value of things are. Like, in Puerto Rico, a good example is that early in the game, money is worth more than victory points. And later in the game, victory points are worth more than money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very vague thing, and you don't need to know, one money is worth 2.96 victory points on turn 2. Information like that is useless in a game of Puerto Rico. The generalities are far more useful, especially because the game is very cloudy in that situation. In this game, you have to calculate down to the individual gold piece. So anyone who's played the game before, the more times you've played the game, the more advantage you have over people who haven't. Now, you have an advantage over people. It's like, say, Tigris and Euphrates. If I've played the game a million times, you've played it once, I have an advantage over you because I've played the game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because I've learned strategies and techniques, and I've become a better gamer. And after they play the game a few times, they'll catch up. But in this game, the information itself, not the tactics or the strategy, but the information of how the game is constructed, is the knowledge that makes you a better player.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know the equation, the game is much simpler, and once everyone knows the equation, the game goes much more smoothly, but at the same point, why are you playing it?
It's like this really, really hard math problem, and you can solve it at the beginning. And if, you can't ever get, the exact answer, but you can get real close. And sure, some other people trying to solve it might mess up your problem, but for the most part, however far along you are on determining the answer, you stay that far along the more you play. So once you're real close to figuring out exactly everything, you're basically real close to winning every damn time you play.
Yep, I mean, playing the game with one group of people and playing with the other group of people is in many ways part of the same game because the information doesn't change.
Yep, but in a game like Puerto Rico, at the start of the game, everyone starts at 0, and it's sort of like a race to see who can get the most. Just go, 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 go.
Yep, and also, both games have randomization, but it's just the math and the Scott Johnson factor of this game I consider myself an extremely hardcore gamer. I can't express to you the countless hours of my life I've spent playing German board games and Dungeons and Dragons and everything. Gaming. This game is too hardcore for me. I don't like it.
I like how the game goes. I just don't like it. It's not enjoyable unless it's kind of like Go. You play Go and you enjoy how the game works. At least I do. But the first 100 or so times you play Go, you just lose horribly. And you kind of have to beat the game before you can beat someone else. And, it's like even though you're making progress in terms of getting somewhere in your mind, you're not actually making any progress in the game itself. I
guess, because I actually wanted to talk about this, but I forgot. We mentioned chess earlier. Now people kept wanting chess. I really don't like chess, and I was okay at it. I mean, I had a friend who was actually in high school who was actually a recognized master of chess, and he was very good. Obviously, I'd never, ever beat him at chess, ever. Never even got close.
Mm-hmm.
But I played a lot of chess. And chess and this game have a lot in common to me in that you're playing against other people, but not really. You're playing against the game and a memorized series of strategies. Because chess is... It's a tactical game if you don't understand the game, but once you know the game, and the more you learn it, the more you memorize patterns of action, and well, if he does this and this and this, then I do this and this and this, but then he'll do this and this and this, and it's just a game of figuring out the equation that leads to a checkmate. This is just a game of figuring out an equation that leads to me having the most victory points at the end of the 7th round.
Mm-hmm. That one could say the same thing about all the other games, though.
Well, not so much because there's so little. Everything is so deterministic in this game and so open, and the fact that the game ends after 7 rounds, so everything is very regimented. The randomness is already right up front there, and there's no way to secret it away or avoid it. and the fact that I think there's a very limited set of strategies.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a very limited set of strategies. It's like figure out where to build the tracks and in what order and on what turns and which cubes to ship when and how far and when on what turn to upgrade the train.
I mean, it's very difficult to say in Tigris and Euphrates, if he starts with a kingdom in that area, he's probably going to win. But in a game like this or chess, it's very easy to say, if he enacts this series of things, then he will probably win.
Well, you know what it is? In a game like Tigris and Euphrates, the starting board is always the same, and you're competing against the hidden information of what tiles the other players have and how the other players play the tiles. In Age of Steam, the board is set up differently every time, but it's set up with a series of cubes, and you could sit down all alone and figure out the best, assuming that you were the only player, you could figure out the best possible way and order of turns to lay track to get the most money and the most points. And so you're really playing against the game while everyone else is playing against the game. It just happens to be that you're all on the same board.
Exactly.
So sometimes you get in each other's way, but really not.
So that was our experience. I mean, we played Puerto Rico and Age of Steam at Connecticon.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even actually play my DS other than PictoChat.
Yeah, me either. I would have played a lot more games if I had been there for a day other than Saturday. I probably would have played some Medici, which is a bidding game I really want to play.
Yep.
And some other stuff too. But, oh well.
Yep, well, perhaps we'll go to Connecticon again someday.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that tomorrow. I think we're out for today because once again we've gone longer than we expected. And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.